Hey guys, Adam Savage here from Tested, and I am standing in the beautiful lobby of the magnificent Orpheum Theater in downtown San Francisco, where Hamilton is currently enjoying a at least year-and-a-half-long tenure. And we're here to cover something new for me. We're here to cover the sound of Hamilton. We're gonna talk to sound mixer Kevin McCoy about how he manages dozens of mics on dozens of actors every single night and keeps the show running smoothly. All right, Kevin, this is your domain. This is where you manage all the sound. So people think of theater as not requiring amplification, but every actor in this show is amplified. Is that right?
Every actor, all the instruments. If I miss a moment of amplification, everyone knows.
Right,
it's
because
complete
it's
silence.
a dense libretto.
Yeah.
Every word counts. How many microphones are you managing from this?
So all the actors have a microphone, so that's about 25, I think. Hamilton and Burr are wearing 2 microphones so that if one fails, we can switch to their other one immediately.
Right.
Every instrument in the pit has 10 musicians, but each of those musicians play a ton of instruments. So like there's 4 mics in the bass because he's got an upright bass that has a couple mics, and he's got an electric bass, he's got a key bass. The percussion setup has probably 10 mics. The drum setup has another 15. So a ton of mics.
That's just from a signal management standpoint. Does that create interesting headaches because each one has got to be on its own signal?
Yeah, I mean, you build the system to accommodate. We have a ton of analog lines running from the pit into our room downstairs where they get digitized and come into the system. They come into the board here. I have a ton of faders that come in, and they all come into the board into different channels, and then they get managed here. A lot of the band is sort of managed on its own, sort of in the programming. I don't have to touch the band too much, except for the band as a whole. I manage the energy of the band, but I don't have to dig in and be like, oh, I wish there was more bass here, unless there's like something a little bit off in that show, or like I'm feeling it a little bit differently.
So this is a legacy show. It existed before you came onto it. So obviously you knew how many microphones you were dealing with. How much of your job is just about doing what's been laid out, and how much is really custom to the house that you're working in? There must be really specific problems you have to solve with each house this gets loaded into.
Totally. I like to talk about it like as a metaphor with cooking. You know, if you're a chef and you go to another kitchen, you have to learn where all the things are, but you're still making the same food.
Right.
And then you also have to deal with, like, if you're using fresh ingredients, they're going to be different. You might have to salt differently. You might have to do whatever differently. And so, like, I'm working with all the same ingredients, but, you know, maybe one day someone's singing a little under or something like that.
You got to bring
so
that
I might have to help them out a little bit, yeah. And then each room, of course, has different challenges. We've been here for quite a while, so I haven't had to adjust to the room lately.
Right.
But when the show moves, you have to tune the system to each room. Each room has different characteristics, and you have to sort of adjust for that. We have a very versatile system, so that's good for that.
And now I know this cast came from the Puerto Rico performance shows. Are there issues with receiving somebody else's, like you have to wrap your head around so much?
Yeah, I mean, I did quite a lot of training. Our company is very good about, because we are a legacy show, as you say, we have a lot of productions. We work to train our mixers in a way that we can all mix the same show from the various performances that we get.
Does that mean you go in bed with another production for a few days or a couple of weeks? Okay.
Yep. And then even here during rehearsals, I was often practice mixing. Sometimes I'll just, you know, I'll blind mix just without any sound, just remembering how to throw faders, following my script.
Is there, every show brings its unique challenges and has its uniqueness to it. What are the interesting challenges that this show lends to your job?
Sure. Well, Hamilton is by far, like an order of magnitude, the hardest show I've ever mixed.
Really?
It's constant. If my script, you can look into my script a little bit, and it's just like, it's just constant. I mean, and if you've ever heard the show, you can see that it's just like constant lines back and forth, and we only ever want to have a microphone on if it's in use. So I'm following, some people have told me it kind of looks like I'm playing Soundboard Hero. Because,
oh my God, you are. So you're only turning on the mic for the line.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So like, you know, like a scene like this looks like we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're just sort of like going 3, 5, 3, 4, 6, 5, 3, 4, 6, 5, like that sort of a thing back and forth.
That would strike me as something that if you had to sneeze, it could screw up your job.
Yeah, you definitely want to time your sneezes, want to time, you know, I've mints, you know, when you can grab a mint, you know, when you can't grab a mint. one interesting thing that happens is when you're learning the show, it's panic. Like it's just a constant level of panic.
Yeah.
And you just, you're like the cartoon with the character laying down the track right in front of the train, like just hoping that it doesn't go off. But then as you do the show, as I've done for now a year, and this has happened with other shows too, time expands.
Right.
And suddenly I'm like,
it slows down a little bit. So you can see.
And in places before where I was panicking, I'm like, man, I'm just gonna have a sandwich, and I mean, I don't really have a sandwich. It feels like there's enough time that I could do that sort of thing. So it's an interesting phenomenon to see.
Are there still parts of the show that task you to the edge of your abilities?
I'm at 90% of the edge the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a really hard show to mix in a really delightful way. Like it's challenging in a way that I've never experienced, and it's great.
Are there aspects to, like, this script is laid out, but presumably if another sound person was taking over this job, they might make small modifications to how this is written?
So I laid out this script for myself, but like you can see, the other person who mixes the show, Adriana, she has her own script, and she does her script in a different style. She's a lot more handwritten. So like it's a very kind of personal thing for each of us. So I
would also imagine that making up this document is a key way you embed the entirety of the show in your body.
So true. I do mine in LibreOffice, like in open source document editing.
Oh, okay.
And that sort of like that time in the computer is like it's like rewriting the show.
Right. You're like layering it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are there parts that you just like, you get thrilled to do every single night? Like a part of the show that kind of, that gives you a little extra energy?
Yeah, I mean, like the whole show. But, and like there's also like rotating parts. Like lately, the woman who plays Eliza has just been killing it on Burn. And I'm just like really excited to get to that point and mix Burn. Wait For It is really exciting every night. Wait For It's interesting because we do the echoes live.
Oh, wow.
So this is Wait For It.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you know the song, it starts out with Burr singing, Theodosia writes me a song every day, 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 day. And when he says day, there's a fader that's on and muted here. And when he says day, only for the word day, I unmute day. And it sends into a delay unit and goes day, 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 day. And then same for way, 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 way. And then wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. So that's super fun to do.
Now, when you say, what I love about the way you said that Burn, she's been killing it.
Yeah.
The way you describe it is it's a collaboration. I hear that in your voice, that you are helping that performance be something.
Yeah, I super feel like, I don't know if they feel it, but I definitely feel it. Yeah. I feel like I'm playing with them. Like, just like the musicians in the pit are playing with them, I feel like I'm playing with them. And
I don't think many people think of the sound job as being like that, but of course it is.
Yeah.
Every aspect, every way she's inflecting is going to require maybe some response from you to
absolutely like I know the performers, I know what syllables they're going to emphasize, I know what syllables they're going to drop down on, so I can bump that syllable up, and then also they're all also going to like change a little bit from time to time. So then I will also adapt to what they're doing that night. Yeah.
And give them feedback, I would presume, that things are changing, or
each
actor kind of finds their way as they go?
Yeah. Like there's some actors that I have conversations about that with who want to have that conversation.
Right, right.
But, I'm here to let them do the show they want to do. And they can do whatever show they want to do, and I'll deal with it.
I love how much nuance there. I mean, it scratches the surface of any of these levels of complexity, and there's all this amazing nuance.
Right.
It sounds like you have a lot of fun with it.
It's so fun. And it's funny because I talk about this with younger stagehands too, that, I'm 39, and 10 years ago, I was well into my career as a stagehand, and I didn't know this existed. And I got my first job mixing a show. I was like, yeah, that's easy. Just put the faders up when they're on stage, right? Turns out, no, you don't do that. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And so then they were just like, well, either you do it or this job isn't for you. And it turned out I could do it. But it's amazing to me that this job could exist, and I just didn't even know that it existed.
Now, I'm in avionics on airplanes, there used to be individual gauges for everything, but over the years they went to what's now called a glass cockpit, where all the instrumentation is on flat screens. It looks like the same thing has been undergone with this kind of equipment.
That's so true. Yeah, we have basically like a desk that's about 6 times as big as what you see inside, and everything happens on touch screens. Also the knobs, there's, you know, physical knobs, but they're being assigned to different parameters on the board.
Which means you can adjust different curves to these knobs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The patch bay is a lot easier to set up because you can address it post facto.
All digital, exactly.
Right,
Yep.
right,
yep.
right.
Yeah, you can bring up an EQ and adjust it with the knobs
Jeez
over
and
here.
Crow, look at that.
Right?
Holy cow. Oh my God.
And you can do the same with some dynamics. Dynamics happen down here with
oh, and so the color coding works so you know which ones you're working on.
Yeah, this is a Digico SD7. It's one of the most popular consoles on Broadway right now, and so it's very good for this sort of stuff.
So presumably the company that makes this, they'll eventually make an upgrade to this, but because you know the previous, you'll get to learn it. But there's a real learning curve to starting up with a piece like this.
Yeah, in fact, they just released an upgrade not too long ago. But we're gonna, we'll stay with this because it's what the show's built on.
Right.
But the thing about doing this job is that it's not so much about like knowing what this gear is and what this gear is. It's about like being able to learn, like get to the job and here's the manuals, figure it out. So learning how to learn is the key here.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's really, really awesome. Awesome. And I mean, you get to watch the show every night.
It's so great. I love it. I love it. It never gets boring.